Welcome to News Central TV. I am Bola Ahmed. The top stories at this hour. President Tinubu urges peace and civility from stakeholders in Edo Governorship election. Mpox vaccines administered in Rwanda for the first time in Africa. United Nations says about 14 million people are displaced in West and Central Africa due to insecurity. And details shortly. Let's begin with updates on the Edo Governorship election, where President Bola Tinubu has called on all stakeholders in Edo State Governorship elections, scheduled for Saturday, September 21st, to conduct themselves peacefully and sportingly. Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, made this known in a statement on Thursday. The President implored the governorship candidates, political parties and supporters to respect democratic process and the people's will. He noted that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is committed to conducting a free and fair election and urges all stakeholders to work together to ensure a successful and peaceful process. Meanwhile, the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the police contingent for the Edo State Governorship election, Frank Mba, has again boosted the confidence of eligible voters in the state with a vow to adequate security before, during and after the election. Mba gave the assurance at a press briefing held at the command headquarters in Benin City, the Edo State capital. News Center's correspondent Austin Azu tells us more.
As the Edo State Governorship election inches closer, it appears attention has shifted to the police readiness towards ensuring adequate security in the 4,519 police units and 192 ward collation centers across the 18 local government areas of the state.
If there is not enough security, the whole place there will be anarchy, there will be a problem everywhere. So with enough security, we can forestall those people who might envisage problems. So I quite appreciate that there is security everywhere.
Well, for now, I think I have confidence in them from what I'm seeing in Benin City. Though I have not traveled to other local governments, so I can't speak for what's happening in other local governments or other senatorial districts. But from what I can see within the city center, I think they are ready. We will not be experiencing much glitches around here. But I hope what they are doing here, they are replicating in the interlands and the interiors.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the police contingent for the Edo State Governorship election, Frank Uba, accompanied by other top police officers, is here to address the media, observers and other critical stakeholders about their level of preparation during, before and after the election.
Provide a level playing field for everybody. We will be politically neutral. We will be professional. We will enforce the laws strictly, firmly, but politely. We will hold people accountable when they infringe on the laws. We will make arrests where necessary, and will ensure that those who go out of their way to break the laws don't go scot-free.
While reassuring the about 2,629,025 registered voters of adequate security, the DIG said the force has deployed troops on the land, air and water to protect and provide surveillance within the state during the election on Saturday. On vote buying and voter intimidation, the DIG threatens that anyone caught will be brought to book.
As we are speaking, don't be shocked that vote buying is going on in people's bedroom, in people's home. But what will we do is to ensure that those that now try to trade on votes within those areas that are under our radar are stopped and brought to books as quickly as possible.
The police further revealed that special attention would be given to physically challenged persons, nursing mothers, elderly and sick persons on the election day. In Benin, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Meanwhile, the Edo State Government has declared Friday, September 20, a work-free day in the state. And this is set to enable workers and other electorates travel to their voting areas ahead of the governorship election on Saturday. In a statement by the Secretary to the Government of the Edo State, Joseph Aboigbe, the government reassured that security measures have been provided to ensure a free, fair and credible election. And we have News Central's correspondents Bettina Nweli, Austin Azu, as well as Amadine Uyi to give us updates on how things are taking shape in Edo State. But then we have for now just Bettina Nweli. Bettina, good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news. Just paint a picture of the mood where you are and where exactly are you?
All right, thank you so much, Debola. I'm currently at the Situation Room where the Nigerian civil society are having a sort of press conference that involves international observers and foreign consulates as well, who are here to just put heads together and make sure that the election goes well tomorrow.
Okay, by way of reading the news in terms of what the atmosphere is like in Edo State, what would you say about the presence of security officers there?
Well, from time to time, you see security vehicles patrolling the state. So I would say that in terms of security, that the officers are on ground. The hope is that when the die is cast, they would also take responsibility of whatever happens and ensure the safety of citizens in the state.
Well, you mentioned you're at the Collation Center. Just help us understand what you perceive in terms of preparation of INEC for the conduct of this election.
Well, I would say that they are well prepared. The materials were moved from the CBN office yesterday by the INEC officials, and they were well sealed, and everybody monitored that. So I think they are prepared. We hope that they arrive on time by tomorrow at their various polling units and not having to let people wait for their own arrival.
Well, Bettina, I can't help but wonder what you perceive or feel in terms of the pulse of the people. Do you, perceive a voter apathy or voter enthusiasm?
There's a lot of voters' enthusiasm. People have high hopes. They are very, very optimistic. So the hope is that they would get the opportunity come this time tomorrow to put the person that they think will lead them better and take the state to the next level. So yes, people are ready to vote. I spoke to a few people earlier today and they are excited for this day that they have waited for so long to finally come.
All right, thank you so much, Bettina Nweli, our correspondent there, reporting live, from Edo State, just giving us details as to how things are taking shape. The Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, has approved a proposal by the federal government to settle out of court with the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onohen, who is challenging his premature removal from office in 2019. The three-man appellate court panel, led by Justice Joseph Oyewole, also gave the parties November 19, 2024, to return to the court with their settlement terms for possible adoption as a judgment of the courts in the dispute. On our hand, the 21st CJN was removed from office in 2019 by the Code of Conduct Tribunal, which convicted him of failing to declare his asset as a public official. A top beverage company has announced plans to invest $1 billion in Nigeria's economy over the next 5 years. And during a meeting with Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, the company's President and Chief Financial Officer, John Murphy, announced on Thursday in Abuja that the business in Nigeria generates 320 billion naira annually to the company through nearly 300,000 customers. President Tinubu, while responding, reiterated his government's commitment to creating a robust financial system and a business-friendly economy that will attract more foreign direct investments. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for the alignment of Nigeria's regulatory practices with global standards to ensure the country's business environment. The Vice President made this known in a statement issued by Special Advisor to the President on Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, on Friday. PEBEC was established in July 2016 to oversee interventions in Nigeria's business environment by removing bureaucratic obstacles and improving the ease of doing business. Speaking at the inaugural Regulators Forum for PEBEC at the Presidential Villa, Shettima emphasized the importance of transparency, trust and efficiency among regulatory bodies. In the meantime, the Presidential Committee on Livestock Sector Reforms Implementation has submitted its inception report to the President, Bola Tinubu. The committee submitted its report to the President at the State House in Abuja on Thursday. And speaking to journalists shortly after the meeting with the President, the chairman of the committee, Professor Tahiru Jega, said the committee was able to identify measures on how the Nigerian government can judiciously utilize the livestock industry in the country. According to him, the committee's position is that it would be counterproductive to immediately stop open grazing as the traditional method of pastoralism.
From different disciplines, but especially most of us are drawn from the animal science, veterinary science, social sciences, and so on. So as many of you may recall, Mr. President inaugurated this committee on the 9th of July. And the committee began work immediately after inauguration. And we have been able now to produce what we call an inception report, which contains very wide-ranging recommendations as to how our country can tap the potentials of the livestock sector in terms of opening up the value chain in this sector and ensuring that by so doing, we develop all sectors in the value chains to enhance economic growth and development, create jobs, and also ensure that we are not only able to bring about food, feed, and nutrition security, but we are also able to significantly begin to export many of the products that are associated with this sector. We believe that there has been a neglect of this sector for a very long time, and we are very happy that Mr. President has recognized the need to redress this neglect and has invited us to contribute to finding ways and the means of unlocking the opportunities in this sector.
After the break, the federal government reduced diesel costs on transportation by over 60%. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. And now let's head back to the heartbeat of the nation, Edo State, where we have our correspondent standing by, and that's Austin Azu. Austin, good afternoon. Just help us understand where you are and how things are taking shape there.
Good afternoon. Currently, we are en route to the local government where we might be monitoring the process tomorrow. And as you can see the vehicular movement in and out from the state capital, which happens to be Benin City. And of course, we have 18 local government areas in Edo State and 192 political wards and over 4,000 polling units. And of course, these are scattered across the 18 local government areas. But however, we have spoken to some residents in Benin City who expressed diverse opinions about the elections. And most of their concerns seems to be like that of the aftermath of the 2023 general elections. And they keep saying the fact that their mandates were stolen in the 2023 general elections. Vis-a-vis may likely affect their outcome tomorrow because some of them seems not to be in tune with what is happening in the states. And they are equally saying that most of them might not come out to come and vote because they seem not to have gotten that confidence from INEC that their votes will count. But however, we'll have some respondents who are from this place, so we'll likely talk to them. So gentlemen, please come forward to come and talk to us. What's your expectations tomorrow? Tell us your name and tell us your expectations tomorrow. Look at the camera.
Thank you.
What's your name?
I am Mr. Godwin Imarialun. Concerning the election, I think we are just waiting to hear the next person they will impose on us, just like it happens in 2023. So it has been like that, and so it will be. So we are now nothing. Nobody. I'm not a party member. I don't belong to any party. I come to vote my choice, but tomorrow I know that our choice will not count. So we are waiting to see the next person that will be imposed on the people of Edo State, just like it happened in general election. That's all.
All right, we have heard from you. Let's get another perspective to this. Okay, tell us your name and what's your expectation tomorrow?
Yeah, my name is Nweke Chukwudi. I know that tomorrow election is going to be like the president election because we want to vote for Mr. Obi. They didn't give him the election. I know that tomorrow is going to be a patch to the state because we know that Nigeria is full of corruption. I'm not ready to vote tomorrow because the country is full of corruption. That's why I'm not ready to vote by tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, let's get another perspective again. Tell us your name. What's your expectation tomorrow for tomorrow?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Osaro Osawemeze. My perspective of tomorrow vote is that tomorrow as for me, I'm a citizen of Nigeria. I must vote. My vote must count tomorrow. So all I want, I do not care the party that will rule us, but all I know that we need a good leader that will make things benefit for every one of us. So that is my concern for the tomorrow vote. Please and please, because the way things is going now, things is not moving well. Things is not moving well in this country at all. We need a good leader that will lead us. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, from the three people who have spoken, you can actually, conclude that some people are quite ready for these elections, while others are not still committed towards it. But let's hear from this gentleman to tell us his own opinion about it. Okay, tell us your name. What's your perception about tomorrow's election?
My name is Clement S.A. Agadarebalu. My perception about the governorship election is clear. I want our people to be wise in deciding who will represent them this time around. So because if you look around, you see the reflection of the choices we've made before. And now you have the opportunity to make another choice. So it's left for the people to decide, and I will encourage the Edo people to come out in mass and vote for who they want to be the next governor of the state.
All right, thank you very much. We quite appreciate all of you that spoke with us. But nevertheless, we'll keep talking to the people to get their reactions about tomorrow's elections. And not only that as well, we are keeping tab with what is happening across the state. And right now, we can confirm to you that the security agencies are beefing up their strategy to ensure they are able to police the nooks and crannies of the state. And not only that, the Force Police Headquarters is equally updating the media on the restriction movement, on how to go about it and where to go and where not to go. All right, thank you so much, Austin Azu, for your reporting.
Now let's still cross to another of our correspondents, and that's Amadine Oyi, joining us from Ovia Southwest local government area. Amadine, bring us up to speed.
We are the Ovia Southwest local government area INEC office. We came to confirm if indeed materials have been received because distribution has commenced in Benin. We saw those materials, we confirmed it, and we even confirmed the staff of this INEC office trying to confirm the number of materials, which materials and others that they have received from the INEC headquarters to tally with the report sheet they also have. Also, we noticed a very high presence of security operatives. They are seated in front of the INEC office, but they don't want us to video close to them because they don't want their faces to be shown. They said they are here to ensure that hoodlums don't take advantage of the situation and pilfer the materials or do any sinister activity that will mar the distribution of materials and overall the conduct of the poll.
And later on, we'll be connecting to a live conference in Benin, actually right now.
Political parties should mobilize their supporters in a peaceful and orderly manner, ensuring that polling agents respect the process and do not interfere with the conduct of the elections. Edo voters, for whom this election matters. Station room calls on the eligible voters to come out and exercise a civic duty on election day without fear, while avoiding being used by rogue politicians to undermine the electoral process. To this end, we urge the voters to do the following. 1. Vote peacefully. Voters should be orderly and peaceful at polling units and avoid any actions that could disrupt the process or intimidate others. Reject vote selling. Selling votes is illegal and undermines the future of Edo State. Voters must resist the temptation to exchange these votes for money or other inducements, as their future welfare and the quality of governance depend on the choices they make. Timely turnout. Edo voters are encouraged to go to the polling units on time to exercise this franchise. Given the season of rain, it is important to do so to avoid being trapped by rain, which is an uncontrollable variable in the election process. Election observers. We ourselves, as a community, Station Room would like to offer the following. For observers, it is crucial to maintain a high standard of integrity and impartiality. Observers must prioritize accurate and unbiased reporting of events and processes, refraining from being influenced by external pressures or political interests. Any attempt to manipulate reports or distort facts undermines the credibility of the electoral process and compromises public trust. To ensure transparency, observers should verify all information with credible sources, document their findings meticulously, and uphold this duty to report objectively, contributing to a fair and credible election outcome for the people of Edo State. In conclusion, elections in Edo State have previously been fraught with tension, but we remain hopeful that this governorship election will mark a departure from the past fears and irregularities. We call on all stakeholders, INEC, security agencies, political parties, and voters to abide by the Electoral Act and INEC's guidelines and regulations to deliver a free, fair, and credible elections. We call on INEC.
And that was a Situation Room press briefing in view of the sub-national election on Saturday in Edo State. And just to reiterate some of the highlights of what was mentioned is that observers should report accurate and unbiased reporting, and also INEC officials should ensure guidelines are adhered to, as well as observers should also document fairly in the process or conduct of the elections on Saturday in Edo State. Now back to the news. The Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced the cybersecurity levy on electronic transactions from 0.5% to 0.005% in its new fiscal guidelines for 2024 to 2025. And this is following the controversial introduction of the levy earlier in the year, which was met with criticism from Nigerians, subsequently suspended by President Bola Tinubu in May 2024. But in a new development, the Apex Bank said it will continue to enforce the payments of the mandatory levy of 0.005% on all electronic transactions by banks and other financial institutions by the Cybercrime Act of 2015. The levy, introduced under the Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Act of 2015, amended in 2024, is set to support the National Cybersecurity Fund administered by the Office of the National Security Advisor. And to unpack this development is a business and social policy analyst, and that's Kenneth Ikenwa. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
All right. How do you anticipate the reduction of the cybersecurity levy from 0.5% to 0.005% will impact the financial behavior of businesses as well as consumers in Nigeria?
Well, I think it's a commendable initiative to see that in this time and season, given the trajectory and the character of the economy right now, the government is promoting the initiative to reduce rates, possibly reduce taxes that consumers have to be charged at this point in time. But we need to ask a bigger question that borders on macroeconomic issues. And I'm directing this question to the presidency and to the Central Bank of Nigeria. The question is Nigeria broke? Are we so broke that all we must do and all we must continue to do is to look for different ways and means to tax Nigerians, whether directly or indirectly? So coming back to your question with respect to how it will affect the financial or the behavior of financial institutions and consumers are beginning to get woke. I mean, I think that's a Gen Z language, so let me borrow that. They begin to get woke. And people are beginning to mind the way that they are taxed and begin to ask questions. So I hope that this will not be pushing the situation Nigerians have found themselves so far so hard. But if those monies and those levies are collected and used for the appropriate purpose, it is a welcome development. 0.005 may seem insignificant, but when you look at the power of numbers and the volume of cash transactions and transactions that go on in the country on a daily basis, a lot will be coming into the coffers of the government. But as this conversation unfolds, we will see what are the benefits, we will see what it will cost Nigerian people, both economically and socially, and most importantly, both psycho-spiritually or psycho-culturally. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, having said that, how do you think, the controversial introduction and also subsequent adjustment of the cybersecurity levy can affect public trust in government financial regulation as well as their policies?
Well, when it comes to trust, I've always emphasized, especially on News Central, that one of the major issues we're having in the country today is trust deficit. So there's a deficit of trust on the part of the people for government policies, for government officials, and every initiative, most initiatives that this present government and even previous governments try to implement and try to promote. Now, when this situation is there, it could actually affect the productivity of the country and actually affect economic activities of the country. So people may begin to hold back expenditure. And when people begin to hold back expenditure and look for alternative means of survival, it will affect the economic trajectory, the growth and the development of the economy. And that would not seem well for the figures. We need to get people to spend money. Businesses need to get people to patronize them. But when people begin to fear or have the question of trust with respect to if I run this transaction this way, what comes back to me and what benefits? Taxation is actually a burden. But I hope that in the days ahead, we can actually see policies that will be unfolded, policies that will be implemented to convert this burden, this excess burden of taxation to benefits for every Nigerian, so that we can attain what in economics is called the Pareto optimality, or what we can otherwise call social efficiency. What we are seeing is that 20% of Nigerians seem to be benefiting from the present impasse economically, while another 80% of Nigerians, including myself, sad to say, seem to be struggling with the reality of what they need to live in terms of a reduction in the purchasing power parity of Nigerians. These are some of the things that we'll be coping with, and these are some of the predictors that would foster the trust deficit in Nigeria on the part of people for the present government going forward.
Now, when it comes to transparency, you talked about an interesting term there, talking about trust deficit. Haven't expatiated on how Nigerians can have a surplus trust in the government. What measures do you think the Central Bank and also Office of the National Security Advisor take to ensure transparency as well as accountability in the use of funds collected through this cybersecurity levy?
First and foremost, I completely disagree that that fund and those levies collected in whatever way or whatever means and aggregated should be controlled or should be oversighted by the Office of the National Security Advisor. National Security Advisor has nothing to do with cybersecurity. Cybersecurity should be something that each individual, each financial institution should take on themselves, and not the government ensuring that the cyberspace of Nigeria is protected. When you're talking of the cyberspace in the military sector or in the military angle, they're fine. You can begin to look at, oh, how do we protect our cyberspace for the military, for the police, and other law enforcement agencies. But when it comes to financial transactions, each institution should be the ones taking the initiative to actually protect their customers and protect their clients. So, in terms of what the central bank can actually do, I am hoping that this administration that came on board with all tenets of democracy and progressive economics will allow Nigerians, or will allow the Freedom of Information Bill to actually take root. One issue or one particular thing that the central bank must promote is to allow Nigerians to be able to dig deep into how these funds are collected, what funds are collected, and what they are actually being used for. So the major thing is for the central bank to now fashion out an open management policy or open book management policy that will make available to Nigerians how these monies are used, how these levies are collected, and how they are disbursed. Until then, people will just continue to thumb their nose and say it is business as usual. I hope Dr. Yemi Cardoso and those stakeholders involved will consider the larger stakeholders, which are the Nigerian people, and make sure that there's a lot of transparency, accountability, full disclosure, and open book management with respect to these fees. We may think that it's quite minute, but when you aggregate it over time, this will be running into trillions or billions on a yearly basis. And we hope that the money is collected will not just be used for cybersecurity, but for other things that will help with infrastructural development and economic growth.
We could go on and on. I wish we had more time, but thank you so much for your expertise on the news. Kenneth Ikenwa, business and social policy analyst. Many thanks indeed. After the break, Lagos State demands more intervention from stakeholders on sexual and gender-based violence. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Despite numerous interventions by government and NGOs, Nigeria continues to see a disturbing rise in cases of sexual and gender-based violence. In response, the Lagos State Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Agency, at its 10th anniversary, called on all relevant stakeholders to intensify efforts to address the long-standing systemic abuse and violations affecting women and children. Our correspondent, Bola Ahmed, fills us in.
The fight against sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria has been ongoing for decades. Yet the country continues to witness a surge in SGBV cases, despite interventions from both the government and non-governmental organizations. While the northeastern region of Nigeria has seen a dramatic increase in gender-based violence, Lagos State also records a high number of cases. This led to the creation of the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency a decade ago to prevent and respond to SGBV incidents.
There are different stakeholders in this space, non-governmental organizations working in the communities, doing amazing work to create awareness about these issues, law enforcement personnel, other ministries, departments and agencies, the judiciary, for instance, the correctional services. You know, it's a whole network. And so it's important for us every now and then to come together and do an X-ray of our interventions and forge a way ahead for the next 10 years.
According to the agency, Lagos State recorded 5,624 cases of violence between August 2022 and July 2023. Of this, 2,331 were domestic violence cases, 90 involved rape, 72 were sexual assault, and 123 involved threat to life. With the rising number of reported cases, stakeholders, particularly religious institutions and legal authorities, must play a critical role in addressing SGBV effectively.
They've succeeded in creating not less than 22 family support units in our police stations. And we are looking forward to creation of more of this family support unit so that the issues of gender-based violence cases can be taken care of in every unit.
We are open to jump into such opportunities and support as much as we can to ensure that justice is accessible to all, and we remove every kind of barrier that makes people not to be able to access justice according to what the law has already provided for.
Do a lot of counseling in the aspect of spousal relationship. If we discover the man is being terrible, even at times we bring in the law enforcement to help us.
Women and children remain the most affected by this violent act, but persons with disabilities are often at an even greater risk.
We have done our survey and realized that a lot of the people who fall survivors in this category, especially when it comes to women, are women who are not economically empowered, who have to solely depend on their caregivers and cannot leave. But where a woman is economically empowered, she can actually move out of where she is, hire, paid hands, and then is safe for first herself and then her children in the event that she has children.
As gender-based violence increases, it becomes imperative to strengthen mechanisms, especially among law enforcement agencies, to protect women, girls, and other vulnerable groups. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Coming up, Mpox vaccines administered in Rwanda for the first time in Africa. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. The United Nations Refugee Agency says the number of refugees and forcibly displaced people in West and Central Africa has doubled since 2019, reaching nearly 14 million. According to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, the figure has climbed from 6.5 million refugees and internally displaced persons in 2019 to 13.7 million in 2024. UNHCR Regional Director Abdurraouf Konde says it expects this number to rise to 15 million by the end of 2025. With many displaced people unable to return home, some of them for decades, the UNHCR urged host countries to integrate refugees into their development programs. In East Africa, the African Union's Disease Control Center says Mpox vaccines have been administered in Africa for the first time, with several hundred high-risk individuals vaccinated in Rwanda. According to a spokesperson for the AU Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the first 300 doses were administered on Tuesday near the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and DRC has been the worst-affected country with nearly 22,000 cases and more than 700 deaths linked to the virus between January and August. Africa's CDC Director General John Kaseya said vaccinations would start in the DRC in the first week of October. The World Health Organization last week pre-qualified an Mpox vaccine, MVABN, for the first time, paving the way for the United Nations and other international agencies to procure them. Malawi's former president, Peter Mutharika, has been chosen to lead the main opposition Democratic Progressive Party into next year's presidential election. Now, this marks a comeback for the 84-year-old who governed Malawi for 6 years and later suggested he would not run for office again. Mutharika lost to President Lazarus Chakwera in 2020 in a rerun that was ordered by the country's constitutional court after it annulled the previous year's election. Mutharika's return means he will square off against President Chakwera for the third time, each having won and lost once in the past. And to unpack this, I'm joined by a political scientist, and that's wonderful, Onchute. Good afternoon from here. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Thank you.
All right. In your opinion, what factors would you say have contributed to the decision of Democratic Progressive Party, that's the DPP, to select Mutharika as their candidate again?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The fact is that the main opposition, DPP, lacks a person who could have stepped in the shoes of Peter Mutharika. And it is not that Peter Mutharika was exceptional during his presidency. But even in the recent studies, we have seen that political parties are too personalized in the country. So if Peter Mutharika is out of the party, then that could also mean the end of the party. That's why they chose to maintain him, because he's the one who is still relevant in the party structures.
Well, many countries experience a recycling of political leaders. I mean, what does Mutharika's return signify about political landscape in Malawi and also the concept of political renewal?
Yeah, in terms of the fight for political power, the return of Mutharika means that President Lazarus Chakwera and the Malawi Congress Party will have to fight till the last minute, because it means the opposition DPP and Peter Mutharika are now strong. He still remains the candidate that is well known. But in terms of running the government, Peter Mutharika is not bringing anything new. Even in his return manifesto, he's saying that returning to proven leadership. But then when you look back to his presidency, there's nothing that one can be convinced to say that he has returned with new ideas or new foresight. He still remains the old Peter Mutharika, the old DPP. So there is nothing promising to say that they have brought something new.
All right. Thank you so much for your time on the news. Wonderful Onkoche, political scientist. Many thanks indeed.
Thank you.
In sports, the Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, has emphasized the importance of nurturing young talents to develop world-class athletes after the conclusion of the 8th edition of the National Youth Games in Asaba. Eno commended the athletes for their discipline and sportsmanship, announcing the launch of an athlete development initiative to support their growth at an elite level. The minister then expressed confidence that many of these young athletes could become future world record holders and Olympic medalists, and also praised individuals standout athletes, including 14-year-old Sin Monial Quadrangha, who won 3 gold medals in gymnastics. Delta, Lagos, and Edo States finished first, second, and third respectively, with Delta leading in medals. The 2023-24 Nigeria Premier Football League top scorer Chijioke Mbaoma has joined the Libyan club Al Ittihad SC. Mbaoma, who was adjudged as the best player last season after scoring 17 league goals to earn Enyimba International a third-place finish. Heartland FC announced the arrival of Mbaoma a few days ago. He then lined up for the NAS Millionaires their match day 2 away game against Rivers United. Mbaoma has now signed a 2-year deal with Al Ittihad SC of Libya. Shohei Ohtani has created baseball history by becoming the first player to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a season. The Los Angeles Dodgers superstar needed 1 stolen base and 2 home runs to achieve the feat and ended the night with 51 home runs and 51 steals in a 24 win over the Miami Marlins. Ohtani stole third base in the first inning to hit the first part of the record. He then recorded his 51st steal before smashing a 49th home run of the season in the 6th inning, tying the Dodgers' record for the most home runs in a season set by Sean Green in 2001. And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. President Tinubu has urged peace and civility from stakeholders in Edo Governorship election. Mpox vaccines administered in Rwanda for the first time in Africa. The United Nations said about 14 million people have been displaced in West and Central Africa due to insecurity. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Bola Ahmed Tinubu.